The Hoplo Catfish. Arguably one of my most favorite fish to keep in my fish tanks. I love them so much that I have so many of them. There's many different species of Hoplo catfish that you can keep inside of your aquarium. Number one being, and probably the most popular one, is the brown Hoplo catfish. Its home is in the Amazon, but is also in Florida. Just like how we know in many of the Florida waterways, there's many invasive fish there, like peacock bass, Mayan cichlids, pacu, and that's just to name a few. Look at that, rhymed. I'm a poet and I don't even know it. The Hoplo catfish is probably one of the less common catfish that are in South Florida, but they're still there. Another type of Hoplo catfish is the marble Hoplo catfish, and one of the very rare type of Hoplo catfish is the albino marble Hoplo catfish. Now that's a mouthful. Luckily enough, I was able to get my hands on all three of these types. And me personally, I have 5 brown Hoplo catfish, 2 albino marble Hoplo catfish, and 1 marble Hoplo catfish. I occasionally will see them here or there inside of pet stores, and when I do, I can't pass them up. I must buy it. Price-wise, you'll see these guys range anywhere in price from, let's say, $7 to $8, all the way up to $20 to $25, depending upon the size. Speaking of the size of Hoplo catfish, you can see them in pet stores anywhere between 2 to 3 inches, but they'll typically max out at about 6 to 8 inches. I've seen Hoplo catfish with my own eyes occasionally get up to about 10 inches in size, but it's a little bit more uncommon that you'd see that. They are also sometimes called the armored catfish because of their hard scales that they have on their outside. They're tough. They're so tough they can accept basically any pH you want to give them. Probably the perfect pH would be 7, but they can accept anything from 6 all the way up to 8. Speaking of their armored scales, they look very familiar to some other fish, don't they? The Corydoras. They're actually cousins to Corydoras, so essentially they're big cories. Behaviorally, they're somewhat like them too. They do like staying in groups, but a little bit differently is that you can actually keep Hoplo catfish either with one specimen or you can keep them with many. Me personally, I like keeping them all together. I genuinely think that they should be together and they'll display more of their community type patterns when they're together. When I say community type behavior, these Hoplo catfish like sticking together in a tight group. I do notice they like to stick together more so by size, so the bigger ones stay with the bigger ones and the smaller ones stay with the smaller ones. Specifically for me, I have 3 brown Hoplo catfish that are pretty big, and then the rest of my Hoplos are around the same size and they do tend to stay together. Going back to Corydoras, they do go up for air just like they do. They have adaptive swim bladders so they can actually breathe air for a short amount of time. In the wild, it's not uncommon that Hoplo catfish might even travel in between waterways without any water. They'll just travel along there breathing in regular air. Sometimes if you were to take these fish out of the water, you'll actually hear them croaking. Now, I'm not going to give you an example of that because I'm not taking my beautiful, beloved Hoplo catfish and putting them through breathing air, even though they can handle it. In regards to compatibility, you could literally put this fish with anything that it couldn't eat. I would not put it with something that's extremely micro, for example, neon tetras, maybe even some of the nano shrimp. I would not put them with. But in regards to cichlids, you can definitely put these fish with cichlids. I've had Hoplo catfish with my Oscar George, Jack Dempsey, pike, and there was absolutely no issues. Hoplo catfish can definitely hold their own if they are going to be picked on though. I've definitely seen my Hoplo catfish go toe to toe with some cichlids before. In regards to eating, they will eat anything. They are incredible scavengers and will eat any type of food that you will give them. I've never seen my Hoplo catfish ever not eat food. Even food that most fish won't eat. You know, you'll buy a brand new thing of food, test it out, see if your fish will eat it, and they won't. The Hoplo catfish, they'll still eat it. Now, when it comes to breeding, I've never had success breeding these fish. I've also never really given them conditions to breed. If you do want to breed these fish, I would highly recommend putting some sort of floating plants inside the tank. These fish are bubble nesters, so what they'll do is actually collect sticks and plants from the bottom of the aquarium, bring them to the top, build a nest, lay eggs, and there you go. Speaking of breeding, let's talk about the sex of the fish. Males will have much more pronounced pectoral fins, a little bit thicker. There even might be a redness coming out of the pectoral fins. Females will have much broader bodies, much thicker in shape and form. Overall, these are incredible fish. They're very personable. They're one of my favorite because of that. If I put my hand inside the aquarium, they will swim up into my hand. They're very curious. They like to be pet sometimes. I personally don't like petting them anymore because I've actually cut my hand on their scales. It's literally that hard. Some people will say that they're actually nocturnal. I've never experienced them having any sort of nocturnal behavior because they're either extremely active, swimming around the aquarium, or being very lazy, sitting at the bottom of the aquarium in a big group, or being loners at the top of the aquarium, laying on top of anubias leaves, driftwood, you name it, they'll lay there. When it comes to actual tank size, this is very, very important. I've kept Hoplo catfish in things as small as a 10-gallon, and obviously anything as big as a 125-gallon. I would recommend you put your Hoplo catfish in a 75-gallon tank or larger. All in all, if you do find this fish inside your local fish store, I would highly recommend purchasing this fish and adding it to your aquarium because it will be compatible with just about any fish you want to put it with. It's extremely personable. It will give you the personality of, so let's say, a cichlid. It will do the great job of cleaning your aquarium like a catfish, and it will be a perfect friend to you. But that's going to be it for this video. If you did like this video, be sure to subscribe. Check out some of the other content here on my channel. Ding that notification bell if you are already subscribed. But most importantly, don't forget to fish on.